Hi, I'm Dory Demers, and I'm the Rise Vermont coordinator. Rise Vermont is a community initiative to embrace healthier lifestyles, improve the quality of life, and reduce healthcare costs of where we live, work, and play. We are pleased to bring you Rise TV, a weekly syndicated show on Northwest Access Television, bringing us all tips, tricks, and resources to embrace a healthier lifestyle. We are thrilled that we are partnering with the Vermont Department of Health St. Albans District Office to offer these tapings as WIC-approved activities. Please be sure to listen for your WIC-approved phrase that'll appear at the bottom of your screen here and also be told by the co-host. This will be what you will have to report back to your local district office to get credit for your second nutrition education. If you'd like more information about Rise Vermont, head to www.risevermont.com or follow us on social media. I really hope you enjoy the show, and thank you for joining us in embracing a healthier lifestyle and creating a healthier community for all of us and generations to come. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jessica Frost from Rise Vermont, and today I have Bridget Butler with me. She's also known as the Bird Diva, and she can tell you a little bit about herself.
Yeah, sure. Jessica, I live right here in St. Albans City, and I am a bird enthusiast. I also work in the conservation field as well, and so those two kind of interests kind of overlay and hook up. But as we get into spring and summer, this is probably my most favorite time of year, and I really enjoy getting out and birding. And not only is it something that I like, but it's now my business too as well. So I have a website, it's birddiva.com. I do walks, talks, and all kinds of presentations. And I also work with landowners to look at their landscape to understand how they can manage it in a way that's good for songbirds and other wildlife. So that can be from looking at your backyard to something bigger. Maybe you want a bird survey done on your property. So I provide those services as well.
Oh, wow. So how does birding fit into the recreational world, and why do you think it's a great form of recreation?
Yeah, so birding's a great way to get outside. I think one of the things that's wonderful about it is pretty much everybody's got a bird in their backyard, and maybe that bird is the one that wakes them up in the morning and they don't like so much, or maybe it's the one that comes to their feeders. But as you delve into it a little bit deeper, you can start exploring different habitats in different places. And the birds will change depending on what type of habitat that you're in. Birding is, well, it goes back and forth between birding and gardening as one of the top hobbies in the United States. And actually birding and gardening go really well together as, also, so you can plant things in your backyard that are going to be good for birds. But when it comes to recreation, I think about the opportunities that birding provides you to be able to get out on the landscape in different places. And here in Vermont, I mean, there's such a diversity of habitats. I think about here in the northwestern part of Vermont, how we have Lake Champlain. And then in the distance, we can see the Green Mountains. And in between that, we have grasslands and farm fields and wetlands. And so in each of those different places, there are going to be different birds. I enjoy finding different ways to get out on the landscape as well. So if you're a kayaker or a canoeist, you are going to run into birds while you're out there. If you're fly fishing along any of the rivers here, I think of, oh man, up in Montgomery and those places like the Trout River, there's a whole suite of birds that's going to hang out along rivers as well. So you can't really miss them. So why not really start to dig in and enjoy them? And that's what I like connecting people with.
It's almost like an adult scavenger hunt. It kind of gets you motivated to get outside.
It
when
really
you're looking for birds.
And whether it's the song or the colors, this morning I had an indigo bunting in my backyard, and I live just a couple blocks from here. So a lot of birds are moving through during the spring season and the fall season. And so you never know what's going to drop in. And that bunting is the sharpest, most brilliant blue color you've ever seen. Like,
oh, wow.
Take a blue jay and just like electrify it. And you've got indigo bunting. So lots of different colors, kind of, I call it eye candy. Lots of eye candy out there to look at when it comes to birds. And then the songs can capture you as well.
Yeah. So if somebody wanted to get started in birding, what would be some basic equipment that they should look into?
Yeah, I think even before you really invest in anything, and I'll tell you about some of the basic tools, is a bird feeder in the backyard.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people start out that way. So folks can think about, during the summertime we have to be careful because some of us who live in more rural areas might have bears in our neighborhood. So typically April through October, if you live in an area where there are going to be bears, black bears out and about, you want to rely on your garden to be feeding the birds. If you live in a more urban environment, I keep my feeders out year round. You want to think about feeding just during the winter time. But a good tube feeder, like a tall tube feeder about that size, can get you started. Put black oil, sunflower seed, or thistle seed in it, and then place it somewhere where you can watch it. I love a good morning cup of coffee and a view of the bird feeders.
Yeah.
So then you get to know your yard birds first, things like cardinals and goldfinches and blue jays and the chickadees. And then as those birds become familiar, when it's fall and spring migration, the odd ones that drop in are going to stand out even more to you. And if the feeder's close to your window, you don't need binoculars or anything like that.
Right.
So
I just have a question about the feeder. Is it important once you put it out that you do maintain it year long if you don't live in a bear area?
So it's not, you know what, it's interesting because birds actually about 25% of their diet might be a feeder. So they're foraging the landscape, and your feeder is just one of the stops. And they need a balanced diet, just like we do, and enjoy a variety of things. So seed might just be a little part of that. I would say it's most important during the winter time if you start feeding to keep feeding, because that's when it's a little bit more stressful on birds. Not as big a deal in the summertime, but cleaning your feeder is really, really important.
Oh, okay.
There's all kinds of diseases that can get passed from bird to bird and make the birds ill. So you really want to make sure you scrub the feeder down once a month. Like a 10-to-1 ratio of bleach to water would be really good. And then get those back out. Oh, and hummingbird feeders too. That's another great one. And this time of year, they are going to be around throughout the rest of the summer, so we have a great opportunity to enjoy them. Folks don't need to put red in their feeder. In fact, it's good not to put red food coloring in. You can put a red ribbon on your feeder. A lot of the feeders have red on them, and that's an attractive color to hummingbirds.
Oh, okay.
So that's what draws them in, and that's why people would put food coloring in. It actually causes the water to mold faster. Sometimes food coloring doesn't have good stuff in it for the birds. So keeping them clean, keeping them out all winter long, and then don't put dye in your hummingbird feeder. Good things to remember when you're setting up your first feeding station.
Interesting. Thank you.
And then you want to get a bird book, a good bird guide. Now I have this is my giant bird guide, and it's well worn. This is a Sibley's Guide to North American Birds. And I carry this around because I lead a lot of bird tours. What I would recommend folks do is get something that's more for eastern birds, and it's smaller, so you're not carrying around like a big, huge volume. So get an eastern guide to birds. That was my big mistake when I first started birding. I got a giant one like this because I was like, I need all the birds. I need to know them all, and it was really overwhelming.
Yeah.
So if you get a eastern guide, learn your feeder birds. And then you can start to branch out. Next big purchase would be a pair of binoculars. And binoculars can help you see birds at a distance and see some of the details that you would really want to look at.
I just have to interrupt you for 1 second. Yeah. Our WIC-approved activity code is tweet tweet.
No. Tweet tweet. That's brilliant. Awesome. All right, well, tweet, back to the binoculars. Binoculars are used to be seen as a big expense. They're not anymore because the technology has come a really long way. So you can get a good pair of binoculars for under $300, which is really nice. You do want to spend a little bit of money because otherwise you're not going to have good optics. Get an 8x42, that's 8 times the power. That gives you like the 8x magnification. And 42 is your field of view.
Oh, okay.
And that gives you just enough to have enough brightness and light when you're looking through the binoculars. I like to get a really nice strap that will go across my back. That's what this one does rather than hanging on my neck. And so it comes around your shoulders a different way, and it doesn't stress your neck if you're going to be out bird watching for a long time.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
I was going to ask where some of your favorite places to go are in Franklin County.
Okay, so favorite spots. My backyard is really great. And then when I start to think about branching out, actually Hardack and Aldous Hill are really wonderful.
Oh, wow.
There's a really good mix of shrub and scrub land there, and then mature forest. So you'll find things like scarlet tanagers, rose-breasted grosbeaks in the mature forest, and then down below in the shrub-scrub area, eastern towhee, a bunch of different types of sparrows as well. So that's a really good spot. From there, let's see, you could do Hardack, go up on the French Hill where the town forest is on Forest Drive. That spot has a pond that is known to have wood ducks nesting on it, which
wow.
is just lovely.
Those are beautiful.
Oh my goodness, one of the most colorful ducks you'll ever see, and sometimes they perch in trees, which is very strange to see.
The town forest has done quite a bit of work to enhance bird nesting, haven't they?
So the town worked with the county forester, Nancy Patch, and then Audubon, Vermont, which has a program called the Forest Bird Initiative. And they looked at the management plan and the birds that were there and came up with a plan to enhance it for birds. So they've done some small patch cuts over there to kind of open up the forest canopy and allow some open spaces and then allow some young growth to come back in. And it's working really, really well.
Oh, wow.
Really beautiful spot, and there are going to be some lovely trails back there to explore. Two other spots, Franklin County Airport, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, so Franklin County Airport is like a grassland, and it's a certain kind of really low, not tall grasses, but lower grasses. So it has a whole set of birds there that are very unique. Vesper sparrow, Savannah sparrow, song sparrows. So that's a really, really cool spot to go for some very different birds. And then, of course, the gem of this region is the National Wildlife Refuge. So Missisquoi is wonderful. And you can walk, you can boat, you can go fishing there. And there are birds everywhere, including nesting ospreys, the very unique black tern, this is pretty much the only spot that it nests in Vermont, and then bald eagles as well.
Wow, they've been making a comeback, haven't they?
They have. So that bird was pretty much wiped out due to DDT back in the 70s. And it is having a rebound. We have had our first nesting pairs probably for about 6 years now. We were one of the only states left in New England that didn't have nesting pairs of bald eagles. And the state worked really hard to kind of bring them back. And we finally have nesting pairs again. And we even have nesting pairs up in our region in Grand Island, Franklin County now. So
that'd be amazing to see.
Just beautiful.
Well, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Anything else that I would like to add?
Where could people find you?
Sure. You can find out about programs that I'm doing at birddiva.com. You can also find out more on Facebook, so you can find me on Facebook.
Okay.
And there's also a wonderful group on Facebook called Vermont Birding that will connect you with the broader community.
Oh, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. If you want to hear more about Rise Vermont, you can also go to our website, risevt.com. Thank you.